Absolutely, Voya. Well, that's just the nature of the live TV. So where we are, it's absolutely quiet. It's incredibly quiet. I mean, there's no drama at all. But what I can tell you is that, of course, the governing party, the ANC, is still at the top with just over 51%, followed by the Democratic Alliance, of course, here leading just by 26%, and the third party here, the EFF, with about 14%. But perhaps to try and make sense of some of the numbers coming out of the country's economic hub is the IC's Moses Peter. So, Mr. Peter, thank you so much for your time. So far, how are things panning out in this results center?
Look, as it relates to us capturing in the province, some 70% of our voting stations have been captured on the system. However, only of 40% of that has been audited. So the 40% of the 70% is now in the results system.
And Mr. Peter, one of the main issues that came out was the whole issue around multiple voting. So for Gauteng, is that one of the concerns that you had?
No, look, we haven't had direct objections relating to that matter. So as Gauteng, we hear about those issues, but they haven't been brought to us directly as Gauteng to address.
But also, let us look at now the whole issue around, the finality of the result. Are you getting a sense as to, when are you going to finalize the process?
Look, our hope is that by this time tomorrow we'll have completed, because remember, over and above us and addressing the issues of capturing, we've got to also address the issues of variations in terms of the norm. If there is a variation from the norm as the IC, we've got to investigate to see if there are challenges that needs to be addressed. So we hope by tomorrow this time we'll have concluded with the process.
And just before I let you go, sir, so some smaller parties are not happy about how the process has been. Others, they are threatening to go to court. As Gauteng, have you had anything to that effect?
No, we haven't had reports of parties having challenges at our voting stations. Remember, all parties were given an opportunity to have representation at our voting stations to observe the process. And if there are issues at the voting station, they could object to the presiding officer and record their objections. And if they're not happy with the outcome of or the decision of the presiding officer, they can escalate the objections. But over and above that, as Gauteng, we went out of our way to train political party agents to make sure that as they come to the voting stations, they're at the same level, on the same page with our presiding officers, so that everybody understands the processes in the same way.
And just the issue around the turnout, sir. When are we going to know the issue regarding the turnout, especially around Gauteng? Are we getting the figures at this point?
Look, once we have concluded with the counting, with the capturing, we then have the actual figures of what is the voter turnout for the province. Right now, as I'm saying, we are focusing on ensuring that the results get into the results system so that the South Africans are not kept waiting for the outcome of the elections in Gauteng.
All right, so thank you so much indeed. So that's Moses Peter right here in Auckland Park. So, of course, this is the country's economic hub. This is where the verification will be done. But most of the political parties, really, they've abandoned their positions here right at this main center. But, of course, we're expecting them perhaps to come back. We know it's a very nail-biting exercise as political parties are awaiting the entire process here in Gauteng.
Well, of course, that is Khayelihle Khumalo out in the Gauteng Results Operations Center, giving us insight in terms of where the voting process is, and that, of course, the threat of that coalition they always keep saying is looming. But obviously, the African National Congress doing its part to try to retain or have some form of majority there, if possible at all.